What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew, and we're stopping in here on a fast Friday. And as I recover from Disneyland, just want to let you guys know I didn't have to punch anybody, didn't have to stomp anybody out, didn't have to karate chop anybody in the throat, didn't have to whoop anybody else's kids. We got in there, we got out unscathed, had a good time, ate a lot of food, was a fat boy, 100% my type of day. But as we roll in here on this Friday, I want to talk about a very special performance from the one and only Paige Bucket Bueckers. Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk about some women basketball just because as I was following on my phone while I was at Disneyland and I saw that Paige was just shooting at a high clip, was getting buckets. They were winning. They looked like they were about to beat the Sparks, but didn't quite get the W in the end. But Paige Bueckers had a rookie all-time performance. And let me read these stats to you guys. Paige was 17 for 21 shooting. And for you guys that took Math 111 three times like me in college, that is 81% from the field, 4 or 4 from long range, 6 or 6 from the line. And she also chipped in with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal in 36 minutes of play. Wow. Good job, Rook. And why do I talk about this? Being a show where we talk about coaching, advice, mentorship, or whatever, I'm all about all time performances. I'm all about performance because that's what we do every day in life. When we wake up, when we lay our head on the pillow, we're waking up thinking about what's the best way we can perform, whether that be our family, our careers, our businesses, friendships, whether we're going down the entrepreneurial path and it's about being creative and building all these other things up. It's about performance and it's about signing your name on your performance whenever you get the chance. Now, I always let you guys know we're always going to dig into this thing where I try to educate you guys as much as possible. And not to say that Paige Bueckers was going through this, but there is something called flow, and it's a state. Some people call it flow state. Some people call it being in the zone. Some people just call it flow. Let me break down what it is for you real quick. Flow essentially is when the challenge meets the talent at a high optimal level. So if you can think of a challenge of, I don't know, I can't even say everybody on here is an athlete, but I will speak from the perspective of an athlete. An athlete, you're going against other great athletes and are throwing defenses and people are trying to stop you. The hardest thing for you to do is to score that ball in that basket. The other hardest thing for you to do is score that ball in that basket when all eyes and defenses and game plans are meant to stop you. But what flow is when you meet this point where it seems like the game slows down, the rim looks a little bit bigger, you're kind of just you're in sync or you're in rhythm with everything that's going on in the game. Now, I can raise my hand and say equivocally, not that I've never experienced this, I've only experienced this in the sport of baseball, never in football. And I didn't really hoop like that in basketball. So I retired after we got into high school. But in baseball, what flow feels like to me is the ball just feels bigger. The baseball that is about the size of one's palm or a little bit smaller starts to look kind of like a basketball or a beach ball when you're in the batter's box. And every hack and swing that you take at it, you're making really, really good contact. Whether you're hitting home runs, whether you're just hitting balls in the gaps, you're just getting some really good contact on the ball and you're seeing the ball really well. And those that play baseball or basketball know that at times you can go through these phases where it seems like, man, I can't make a shot to save my life. Man, I can't make contact on the ball to save my life. Flow is the opposite of that, where it just seems like you're in the groove of the game and it's coming to you and it's coming easy. And that's exactly what it looked like the other night for Paige Bueckers. She's kind of going into her threes with rhythm. She's dribbling and it's looking like it's easy and it's poetry in motion. She's getting to the rack. Nobody else is there. She's flipping it up off the backboard like a globe trotter. She's working and getting some people on some low block work and just hitting a turnaround J. She's driving into the lane, stops, gives somebody a steps back, wide open two. She is also just getting the and one to go on a little jump stop from the elbow. Everything you can imagine, Paige Bueckers was doing it last night. And that's probably one of the best games of her careers. I haven't checked the stats and everything like that. But just want to give credit where credit is due because that was she tied actually. She tied for the most points scored by a rookie, which is 44. And she tied it with, I'm not even going to say the name because I forgot already, but just know she's tied it. I wanted to see her break it. But to be the bearer of bad news, Kelsey Plum comes down last second for the last shot after they grab the rebound on a miss from before. And Kelsey gets to the paint and gets a little floater off the backboard and in as time expires and gives the Los Angeles Sparks the win by one. But what I'm talking about with flow state is it's this sense that a lot of people never reach flow state. And I guess you can kind of compare it to a runner's high. I've only had a runner's high maybe twice in my life. And a runner's high is when, for those that run distance or a little bit longer, over a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, it's when you feel like you hit this second oxygen tank and you feel like you can pretty much run forever. You don't feel like you're running. You don't feel like you're tired. You don't feel like you're spent. Phil Knight talks about it in his book, Shoe Dog. Check that book out if you haven't before. But I've only experienced a runner's high, I want to say 2 times in my life. And that runner's high also came on a treadmill because Drew Davis doesn't run outside. But what I'm saying essentially is it's when this challenge meets your preparedness. And that's exactly what Paige Bueckers had the other night. And so as we talk about flow state, it's not something that you try to get into. It's something that just happens. And so for the flow state can come for you sitting down and doing work or working on a project. And next thing you know, you got your head down working and it's 3 p.m. And the next thing you know, you look up and you have this beautiful piece of work that you've done and you've gotten so much work done and you look up and it's 11 o'clock at night and you wonder, where has the time gone? That is challenge meeting skill. That's what flow state is. And for some people, it'll pop up and it'll look differently. And like I said, I've only had flow state when it comes to baseball. I've had a runner's high when it comes to running. But I wanted to talk about flow state because there's this state that you can work yourself into if you are along the lines of focused, but also not trying too hard and not trying to do too much and not trying to reach this level or this space that you can operate in. So my challenge to everybody is to do a little bit more research on exactly what flow state is for you. Think about the ways in which you work well and try to bring those things into your life in areas where you're working in order to make your work easier. One big thing I do when I'm doing work or I'm trying to be creative is I'll have a little bit of jazz on in the background. Jazz makes me work a little better. It helps me concentrate. I've never played an instrument in my life, but just having that sound with some people that are very good at what they do, my ears kind of get in tune with that. And as I start working and I start writing, I get a little bit more creative in what I'm doing. I fall deeper into it, and the outside world kind of just drifts away. And so that's what this episode. I felt the need to come in here and talk about a very great performance by a young rookie. Her team hasn't been doing well this year, but I'm pretty sure this year will propel her and springboard her into greater things as the years go on. I was going to do some research as far as how many games Paige Bueckers lost in college versus how many the Dallas Wings have lost so far this year. But we didn't have time for all that before we sat down and recorded this episode. But holla at me if you've ever been in a state of flow. Leave a message. There's a link in the bio that you can click on and just leave me a message. I want to start getting more to these messages. So please, people, call and leave them. If you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh, well, somebody else is going to do it, there's something called the bystander effect. And the bystander effect is this: a lot of people will hear somebody call out for help, and people will just continue on with their day because they think that someone else will do it. But it takes you to be able to take control and take command and be like, well, somebody's calling for help. Let me do my job and do exactly what they're asking for and let me call for help. So this message is for you. If you hear this and you think, oh, Drew's not talking to me because there's going to be somebody else that calls with a better question, as Stone Cold would say, I need you to call. Click the link in bio. It's at the very top. It'll allow you to leave a voicemail. If you need help with any coaching, if you wanted help in any problem area or any situation, or if you just want to give your story on flow state, what that means to you, if you've ever experienced it, or if you know somebody that's experienced it, I would love for you to call and to leave a quick message about that. But once again, it's Friday. We hit the ground running. We do everything with a sense that this isn't the end of the week just for us to just cruise through. This is time for us to dig in and get a little bit better as we go throughout today and put our stamp on our performance, just like Paige Beckers. Ooh, that could be a tongue twister if you say it 3 times fast. Paige Beckers, Paige Beckers. Ooh, I did it right. If we put our stamp on our performance in our game, like Paige Beckers did this past Wednesday against the Los Angeles Sparks, dropping 44 points. So, once again, that is Too Good to Be Drew. I'm your host, Drew Davis. Everybody, I always appreciate you guys coming in, showing love, and listening to this show. The views and the consistency that I'm receiving from everybody, I can't think of enough words to thank you guys for continuing to show up and support me in what I do. And hopefully this ends up being an entertaining part of your week anytime you get to tap in. But like that, we out of here.